Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good morning and welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Reverend Joanna. I'm so glad that you could join us this morning. In this time of confusion, it is so good to have a community where we can all come with the humility of knowing that we do not have all the answers and we don't have to. The best we can do on some weeks is simply be able to support each other in coming up with the best questions possible. If this is your first time joining us, then a special welcome is going out to you. I hope you'll look at our website at liveoakuu.org. You'll find lots of information there, and on that homepage there is a place where you can sign up for our weekly email newsletter. It's going to have all of the information about what's going on at Live Oak, including some things that you may be interested in participating in. Also, if you'd like to learn more about Live Oak, there's a form you can click on that home page. Give us your name and email address and we will send you more information. It is tradition in Unitarian Universalist congregations to light a chalice at the beginning of our worship services and other gatherings. And so if you have a chalice or a candle near, I invite you to draw it forward as we light our chalices together.
to stand with truth is wrong. When we share its wretched crust, ere that hearts bring fame and profit, count his wrongs to be just. Yet the cross of evil prosper, yet its truth alone is strong. Though its portion be the scaffold, and upon the throne be wrong, then it is the brave one chooses, while the coward stands aside, till the multitude make virtue of the faith he had denied.
Today's big idea is The Emperor's New Clothes, retold by Marcus Sedgwick and illustrated by Allison J. One day the emperor got out of bed and slowly scratched his sleepy head. Another royal day had dawned, but he had nothing to put on. Of all his crowns and robes and stuff, no outfit seemed quite grand enough. What I need, I do declare, is a brand new suit of clothes to wear. Clothes to make my people see what a fine king they have in me. Before he could utter one word more, a knock came at the palace door. There stood two weasels looking pleased. We have just what the emperor needs. We're the finest tailors in the land. We can weave you clothes so grand your subjects will cry, goodness me, there is no emperor quite like he. That's what I want. That's just the thing, exclaimed the vain, conceited king. And that's not all, the tailors said, for we weave spells as well as thread. All who dull or foolish be, our magic clothes they cannot see. A bit more gold will buy you this spell. We're sure that it will serve you well. The king was delighted. Start right away, arrange a grand procession day. I'll wear the clothes which you have made. My subjects will cheer as I parade. But can we afford it? The treasurer cried, opening the lid of the treasury wide. The chamberlain agreed. We've spent too much on trousers, shirts, and hats and such. Nonsense! This suit will let me see those who wise or foolish be, those unfit for the office they hold. Hare and tortoise, do as you're told. But the emperor had made an awful mistake. The weasels weren't tailors, they were fake. And when the hare left them to start their work, the two young rascals began to smirk. Smiling and joking, giggling and more, they laughed and rolled upon the floor. I never imagined we'd fool him so well. Who would have thought they'd believe in a spell? How easily people are taken in, even by a tale so very thin. But the story's a good one, woven with care, and one that was told with a great deal of flair. Peeking in through the crack in the door, Hare wondered what all the laughter was for. Many days passed without a sign of any clothes, either shabby or fine. Our poor old emperor began to doubt that he'd ever get his parade shoes out. It's time I saw these wonderful clothes, moaned the emperor grumpily, scratching his nose. But suppose when I visit I can't see a thing, then I'd look like a fool, and I am the king. I don't want to seem like a dunderhead. I'll send my servants to look instead. So Hare and Tortoise went down to the room where the weasels pretended to work at their loom. They looked for the suit that was waiting below, then they looked at each other and they thought, oh no, for they couldn't see anything there at all. What to tell the emperor? They had to stall. By now the emperor was eager to know what had become of his fabulous clothes. Tell me, he cried to Tortoise and Hare, of the clothes they'd not seen, the clothes that weren't there. What are they like? Are they sumptuous and rich? Are they special and lovely and beautifully stitched? Hare and Tortoise wished for somewhere to hide. They look wonderful, Majesty. They both lied. The day of the procession at last had come, eagerly awaited by everyone. The weasels fussed and patted and preened. Slyly they told him, it fits like a dream. And the emperor pretended not to care that he seemed to be dressed in clothes that weren't there. As the procession set out, everyone gawked, too frightened to say what they really thought. But then came a voice, a small frog's call. Look! The emperor's wearing nothing at all. He didn't understand why they were so impressed when the foolish old lion wasn't properly dressed. After that, the secret was out, and everyone started to point and shout. Laughter rang out. What a hullabaloo! For the trick was exposed, and the emperor, too.
From the novel 1984 by George Orwell. By far, the more important reason for the readjustment of the past is the need to safeguard the infallibility of the party. No change in doctrine or political alignment can ever be admitted, for to change one's mind or even one's policy is a confession of weakness. If, for example, Eurasia or Eastasia, whichever it may be, is the enemy today, then that country must have always been the enemy. And if the facts say otherwise, then the facts must be altered. Thus, history is continuously rewritten. The day-to-day fabrication of the past, carried out by the Ministry of Truth, is as necessary to the stability of the regime as the work of repression and espionage. Only a disciplined mind can see reality, Winston. You believe that reality is something objective, external, existing in its own right. You also believe that the nature of reality is self-evident. When you delude yourself into thinking that you see something, you assume that everyone else sees the same thing. But I tell you, Winston, the reality is not external. Reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else. Not in the individual mind, which can make mistakes and in any case soon perishes. Only in the mind of the party, which is collective and immortal. Whatever the party holds to be the truth is the truth. It is impossible to see reality except looking through the eyes of the party. That is the fact that you have to relearn, Winston. It needs an act of self-destruction, an effort of the will. You must humble yourself before you can become sane.
try to break my balls. Ooh, mother, should I build the wall? Mother, should I run for president? Mother, should I trust the government? Mother, will they put me in the firing line? Ooh, is it just a waste of time? Hush now, baby, baby, don't you cry. Mama's gonna make all of your nightmares come true. Mama's gonna put all of her fears into you. Mama's gonna keep you right here under her wing. She won't let you fly, but she might let you sing. Mama's gonna keep baby cozy and warm. Ooh, babe. Ooh, babe. Ooh, baby. Of course, Mama's gonna help build the wall. Mother, do you think she's good enough for me? Mother, do you think she's dangerous? Tell me. Mother, will she tear your little boy apart? Mother, will she break my heart? Hush now, baby, baby, don't you cry. Mama's gonna check out all your girlfriends for you. Mama won't let anyone dirty get through. Mama's gonna wait up until you get in. Mama will always find out where you've been. Mama's gonna keep baby healthy and clean. Ooh, babe. Ooh, babe. Ooh, baby, you'll always be baby to me. Mother, did it need to be so high?
There's an old riddle. You've probably heard it before. You're in a room and there are two doors. One door leads to freedom, the other door leads to death. At each door there is a guard, and you can ask one question. However, one guard always lies, the other guard always tells the truth, and you don't know which is which. If you don't already know the answer to the riddle, it's quite the conundrum, right? Because if you ask something straightforward like, which door leads to freedom? The truth teller will point to the door that leads to freedom, but the liar will point to the door that leads to death. How do you determine truth when you're not sure that the person you're speaking to will give it to you? On October 1st at 1 a.m., the news came by presidential tweet that the president and the first lady had tested positive for COVID-19. And for most of us, when we heard that news, our first question was, is this true? This is the state where we are as a country. Before we can get into the questions about what things mean and what are the consequences, we first feel that we have a personal responsibility just to try and figure out what is fact and what is fiction. As the story went on, things only became more confusing. On Saturday, 2 doctors came out and did a press conference and were very optimistic about the president's health, but they gave some details that didn't fit the timeline, talking about 72 hours from prognosis and 48 hours from the most recent treatment, and the numbers, the time just didn't fit. And so after those questions had been raised, then the doctors came back out again to apologize and say that they were wrong, that they had gotten confused, and they had given wrong information. This is the kind of thing that happens like in North Korea or in Russia. The big difference, at least as far as we know, is that these doctors are still alive. They haven't been publicly executed, nor have they fallen off a balcony. But the confusion didn't end there. At the end of that initial press conference, there had been a senior White House official who spoke to some reporters and seemed to negate everything that the doctors, that their optimism, he seemed to negate all of that and said that, that the previous 24 hours had been very important, very worrisome, and the next 48 hours were going to be critical. Reporters repeated that, as they do with anonymous sources, and then they got pushback. Then there were administration officials who were acting as if they, the reporters, were passing on incorrect information. And so then there had been enough people that had seen what was happened. The anonymous sourcing was dropped, and others stepped forward to say, actually, that senior White House official was Mark Meadows, the White House chief of staff. If you're in a room and there is one person who always lies and one person who always tells the truth, you're actually at an advantage over where we are now, because now sometimes someone will tell the truth, sometimes they will tell a lie, and you cannot know what is happening. For an administration that would want totalitarian rule, that confusion is a feature, not a flaw. Hannah Arendt, who literally wrote the book on totalitarianism, wrote that the ideal subject of totalitarian rule is not the convinced Nazi or the convinced communist, but the people for whom the distinction between fact and fiction, i.e. the reality of experience, and the distinction between true and false, i.e. the standards of thought, no longer exist. This is where we are right now. This month, we are talking about the continuum of skepticism and trust, because both of these, skepticism and trust, are part of our Unitarian Universalist theological values. Living and writing at the same time as Arendt, British writer George Orwell had seen so many things in World War I and then in his experience during the Spanish Civil War that he decided in 1936 that he would pledge himself, he would pledge all of the writing that he would do from that point forward towards waging a war on totalitarianism. In perhaps his most well-known book, 1984, Orwell told the story of a country that had now descended into totalitarian rule that was so controlled that even your very thoughts were something that were studied by the government, that they would look at you through a screen looking for a certain little lift of your chin, or that you would be betrayed by a little shudder or a cringe. The last 3.5 years, 1984, has experienced a resurgence in popularity as people read it or reread it again. And several quotes have come out during these last few years. The one that I think that I have seen the most is, "The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command." Now, I don't believe that we have our television spying on us, although for those of us who have things like Google Home or Alexa, we may wonder sometimes what it is picking up on. But this basic idea that you should be skeptical not of what you are hearing from the government, but that you should be skeptical of what you yourself see or hear. This is where we are now. And though the lengths and the methods that this administration will go in telling lies are apparently unprecedented, it didn't begin in 2016. This has been a part of the world forever. It has certainly been part of American history. Look back at the Nixon years, just to give one example. It is often said that the history books are written by the victors, which seems to be sort of a tacit acceptance that the history books that we read are not telling the full story. I do worry, though, that something has changed in the last 4 years. Something around the whole issue of the ethics of honesty itself. There seems now to be no shame in lies, no embarrassment for being caught in one. And I worry, what is this going to mean in the future? And apart from politics, what is this going to mean in our lives? What does this mean for the children that we are raising? What does this mean for our relationships? And the more I've read of Hannah Arendt's book on the origins of totalitarianism, the more I am convinced that this is something we should be worried about. Not just the lies that we hear, but the whole attitude around the lies, because she talks about that. She says the totalitarian mass leaders based their propaganda on the correct psychological assumption that under such conditions, one could make people believe the most fantastic statements one day and trust that if the next day they were given irrefutable proof of their falsehood, they would take refuge in cynicism instead of deserting the leaders who had lied to them. They would protest that they had known all along that the statement was a lie and would admire the leaders for their superior tactical cleverness. It is not enough that we resist one particular political party or one political leader. As Unitarian Universalists, core to our religion is a sense of morality and ethical living. To live by a high ethical code means that we work to maintain a healthy skepticism about anything that we are hearing from the government, no matter who it is that is in the government. It means that we are more committed to facts and truth than we are to our own biases. If we are going to take Unitarian Universalism seriously, take it as having some tenets and some ethical clarity that we can use to help guide our own lives. It means that we have to look at those 7 principles and understand that when it talks about that principle, about a responsible search for truth and meaning, that we are the ones that have the responsibility to go out and find the facts, even if they don't fit with what we hope to be true. It means looking at those 6 sources that we draw from, and that one about the humanist teachings that warn us against the idolatries of the mind and the spirit, and that we ourselves are willing to change our minds when we find verifiable facts. The encouragement towards skepticism is a gift of Unitarian Universalism, but it comes with responsibility. When things just don't add up, when things just don't fit the timeline, we are called. It is a matter of duty for us to demand truth and demand factual answers. And when we are able to get them, it is our job to step forward and claim them and proclaim them that no, Oceania has not always been at war with Eastasia. Stones are hard, water is wet, COVID-19 is not the same as the flu, voter fraud is not rampant, climate change is real, people are treated differently based on their race. Skepticism has its responsibilities. We can be truth tellers, and we can be the ones who search for truth. When we hear things, listen to what other people say about certain news sources. What is a consensus that seems to emerge? And when we find people who consistently, over and over again, are proven that they have committed to truth, then we can consider them to be a source that we trust. Look around. How do other people talk about certain sources? You're in a room with 2 doors and 2 guards, and you can ask one question. And so the question that you ask is, what would the other person say is the door to freedom? If it's the truth teller, they're going to point you towards the door to death. If it's the liar, they are going to point you towards the door to death. You go through the other one, for the truth will set you free.
be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow in my town. There is panic in the nation. There is wailing in the whole world round. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the wind of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. Oh, I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up in the light of change. Give me a mighty oak to hold my confusion. Give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change.
have a job. It won't pay your bills, won't buy you a home in Beverly Hills. It won't fix your life in 5 easy steps. Ain't the law the land of the government, but it's all you need, 'cause love will hold us together and make us a shelter to weather the storm. And I'll be my brother's keeper, for the whole world will know that we're not alone. It's waiting for you, knocking at your door. Every moment of truth when your heart hits the floor, and you're on your knees, but love will hold us together and make us a shelter to weather the storm. And I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. 'Cause love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm. And I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone.
Thank you for joining us this morning, and a special thank you to everyone who helped put this service together, our musicians, our readers, our producers, and you for showing up to this service and bringing us the gift of your presence. I'd like to invite you now to continue the Sunday morning with us. If this is your first time here and maybe you have some questions about Live Oak, if you go to liveoakuu.org, you're going to see a link that says Just for Visitors, and it's going to take you to a Zoom room. There's going to be just a couple of members there, and they're just there. Imagine them kind of like standing at a visitor's table. They're there to answer any questions that you may have. And everyone is invited to come to our fellowship time. Again, there is a link at liveoakuu.org. This is held in a Zoom room where we can all kind of see each other's faces. We do a little bit of waving hi to each other, and then we go into some smaller breakout groups so that we can do a deeper checking in and sometimes get to know people who you don't really know that well yet. I hope your upcoming week is a good one. May we all go forward with courage, cheerfulness, and resolution.
Soon the day will arise when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see